Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the virtual premiere of Tuesday Talk with Dr. Yaz. That's right, Tuesday Talk with Dr. Yaz. You are in the right place to talk about it. We're going to talk about it on tonight. I am none other than Dr. Yasmin Whirl. I reside in Dublin, Georgia, and thank you so much for tuning in on tonight on the premiere of my virtual talk show, Tuesday Talk with Dr. Yaz. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to share the video. We're going to talk about it on tonight. We're going to talk about it. And again, thanks for tuning in. My purpose for this monthly virtual talk show is to just bring hope to the world and tools to progress through life issues. As we live day by day, month by month, hour by hour, we will be faced with issues. We will be faced with situations that arise. And it's so important that we have the right tools to get through life. And sometimes we have to call on the help of others. We cannot live in this world alone. So that's the purpose of Tuesday Talk with Dr. Yaz. Keep in mind, this is not Bible study. This is not church. Last night I hosted a virtual conference, but that's not the purpose of this. You all that know me know that I'm a counselor, I'm a minister, but I really don't have on that minister hat on tonight. Not that I turn it on and turn it off, but I want to help you grow, not so much in that spiritual component, but to be a person that is whole, a person that is complete. So we're going to talk about it on tonight. And let me put my disclaimer out there. I'm not going to bash it about it. That's not the purpose. If you put something crazy in the comments, I'm going to block you. But be sure to like the video and to share the video. We just want to help you. And we're just going to talk about a variety of issues. So I am so excited that you decided to tune in. And I'm so excited to be able to share my heart with you on tonight. I want to go ahead and go into some acknowledgments. Normally we do that at the end, but I want to go ahead and take care of it now so we can dive into our topic, which is grief. I want to acknowledge Reginald Holloway Sr. That is my sister's husband and her baby daddy. He produced the music to the intro video. How did it sound? I know it sounds great, so be sure to check him out. You can find him on Facebook, Reginald Holloway Sr. His music page is Holloway Productions. He's also on Instagram. I would like to also acknowledge Victor Williams, Majestic Graphics. He made the elegant logo you saw in the intro video on tonight. Very, very creative, multi-talented. Check him out. He's on Facebook as well. And lastly, I want to acknowledge Chrissy Drigger. She's an educator and she has a passion for taking pictures. All those pictures you saw in the intro, she took those pictures. So if you want her to take some pictures for you, hit her up. She's on Facebook. She'll make it happen. They'll all make it happen for you. Reginald Holloway Sr., Victor Williams, and Chrissy Driggers, but for a fee, consulting fee. So hook them up and they'll hook you up. We have an exciting guest with us on tonight. I am so delighted that she said yes to join in with the premiere of this virtual talk show. I remember her from way back when we were college students at Georgia Southwestern State University over 25 years ago. Go Kane. Some of our classmates and alumni may be on tonight. If you are, thank you for tuning in. So we have roots that go back to then when we were young, inspiring African American females wanting to make a difference in life, getting up, getting dressed, going to class, and just surviving through those college years. And that's what we did through those college years. And as my mind go back to college, I think about the sitcom years ago, It's a Different World. I think about school days. So this brings back so many memories of being on a college campus in Americus, Georgia. Dr. Danielle Jones, she is no stranger to the virtual platform and conference setting. She is a wife, a mother, a aunt, and a member of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She recently released a book last year titled I Said What I Said. An amazing book. If you have not purchased the book, purchase the book today, tomorrow, this week. It's a must read. I was able to download the Kindle version about a year ago, read it, thoroughly enjoyed it. She is a licensed professional counselor. She has over 20 years of experience She has a twin sister and a daughter. She is married to Dr. Steve Jones. She's a graduate of Georgia Southwestern State University, Fort Valley State University, Albany State University, and Argosy University. She holds a doctorate degree in educational leadership. She is employed with the Bibb County School District as the district homeless and foster care liaison. We present to you and present to others none other than Dr. Excuse me, that's my meal I ate earlier. We present to you none other than Dr. Danielle Jones. Wherever you are at, give her a round of applause. What's up, Doc? How you
Hey,
doing?
what's going on, Doc?
So good to see you. So good to
Good to
see
be
you.
here.
Glad to have you. How's life been treating you?
Hey, it's been life adjusting to all the changes, but it's wonderful.
It is wonderful. Yes, life is indeed wonderful. Adjusting to those changes, adjusting to the new norm that may become the norm as we move forward. And we're going to just dive right into our topic. Our topic, like I stated earlier, is grief. I felt this was a great topic to get started off on tonight with this virtual talk show. And grief is something that we have experienced. If you have not experienced grief, you will experience grief. Grief is on an all-time high due to the global pandemic crisis that we are still living in, that's been here globally, impacting everybody, not only United States of America, but other countries as well. It has brought on sickness. It has brought on a new norm, and it has even brought on death to some of our loved ones or someone that has been a part of our life. And that may not be the only reason of death that has occurred, but that has been a definitely increase in the death rates in the nation as a whole. So we're going to talk about grief on tonight. I'm going to share some statistics about grief. According to the usafacts.org website, it says preliminary U.S. death statistics, show over 3.1 million total deaths in 2020. Over 3 million total deaths in 2020. So for every death, somebody is grieving.
Wow.
So for everyone that has died, someone is grieving and still maybe grieving from a lost one from last year. And that's at least 12% more deaths than in 2019. So there has been an increase. According to the National Vital Statistics System website, during 2020, on an average of 240,000 deaths monthly in the USA, it listed estimation of deaths from January of 2020 all the way to December, and it was about 240,000 plus each year. There was one month that had about 287,000. So death is
Wow.
definitely on this all-time high. Granted, death is a part of life, but we have definitely seen an increase.
Yes.
Everybody, every time somebody dies, somebody's grieving. That's something I stated earlier. One death can affect many people. So when
Exactly.
someone dies, not only is it affecting the loved one, but the life that person was a part of. I'm reminded of some deaths of some celebrities of this year: Larry King, Cicely Tyson, Hank Aaron. Not only did their death impact their family, but it had an impact on us because of the role they played in their career. I'm gonna
Exactly.
bring it home a little closer proximity beyond the celebrities I just talked about. A parent, a child,
Mm.
a miscarriage, a spouse, maybe a coworker, a best friend. It could have been a neighbor. It could have been a pet, maybe a job loss, ending to a relationship, grief. Let's talk about it. Dr. Jones, what is grief? When you think about grief, what is grief?
So basically, grief is your mind and body's experience or the way it experiences a loss. That's the
Mm,
simplest way to put it. It's the way
mm,
your mind processes and your body reacts to some type of loss. And as you stated earlier, it can be a family member, it can be a friend, coworker, it can even be a pet, loss of a job. But it's the way your mind and body experiences or process any type of loss.
mm. how our mind and body process loss. And yes, when loss happens, it's going to be processed in our mind and in our body. We may be experiencing feelings and thoughts and emotions that we've never experienced before. We may be out of control. We may not understand, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling
Exactly.
when grief happens. So it's something that happens in experience. Also, grief, like you stated, a natural reaction to loss. It's
Exactly.
a universal and a personal experience. Everyone is going to grieve at some point in their life. And from my own personal experience, from thinking back to when I was a little girl until now, I reminisce over loved ones that are no longer here. And last year, I definitely experienced grief in my family on my dad's side, probably from September of 2020 until December. I had about 5 relatives on my dad's side to
Wow.
die. And it really had an impact on me. And I didn't realize it until December, because in December, excuse me, 3 years, not 3 years, but 3 days after Christmas, my mother's biological brother died. So that really hit home. 3 days after Christmas, during Christmas break, well, I'm normally am relaxing,
Hmm.
getting ready to go
Hmm.
back to work and just enjoying the Christmas holidays. We were planning not a wedding. Maybe that's a sign I'm getting ready to get married. We were planning a funeral, and I tell you, it hit hard. And just the other week, probably the last weekend, I was just home, and I said, "Hey," I said, "I'm gonna pick up the phone and call my uncle." And I said, "Wait a minute, I
Mm.
can't call my uncle. He died in December." So I had to kind of gather myself. I said, "Wait a minute, he's no longer here. I can't pick up the phone and call him." But that thought just crossed my mind. And I realized the impact all the deaths had was back January of this year. I work in a school district. So when I went back to work doing pre-planning, I can just remember getting out of my car. Anybody that knows me, I get to work early. That's just, I'm an early bird. But when it's time to leave at the end of the day, I'm gone. But however, I can remember getting out of my car, getting my bag, closing the car door, locking the door. And as I began to walk to the building, it hit. I said, wow, I'm in a brand new year, getting ready to go back to work, pre-plan to plan for the students to come back. And I'm like, I'm grieving. And I went back to the car and I said, I don't think I can do this. I said, I don't think I can do this. And I said, you know what? I'm strong. I'm a counselor. I've counseled youth. I've counseled parents, but I'm like, I think I need some counsel. I got to digress and kind of look back on what I have experienced
Mm-hmm.
with the death of these loved ones. But I've progressed through it,
Yeah, of
according to
course.
my beliefs, I'll see them again. But right now they're no longer on this earth. But grief definitely it's a reaction to a loss. How does grief look? What does grief look like? How do I know that I'm grieving? Does grief have a name to it? Does grief have a look to it?
The thing about grief is it look different for different people. There's not
Mm,
a cookie cutter version
mm,
of what grief looks like. So for
mm,
some people, grief looks like I'm gonna stay busy. I can't stop
mm,
doing. I can't stop working. So it may be that mom that's cleaning up all the time.
mm,
Because if I stop moving, I'm gonna start thinking about what happened, and then I'm gonna feel some type of way. So
mm,
for someone else, it may be the person that can't get out of the bed and constantly crying,
mm,
just crying uncontrollably. For someone else, it may be that feeling of so how we say sometimes, I'm just feeling blah, or I'm
mm,
just, I just got the blues,
mm,
but you've experienced loss and you just don't have, for some people, they just don't have drive and determination. I just feel like I just can't get up and go. For
mm,
other people, grief may be anger,
mm,
acting out, upset, mad. Why did this happen to my mom? Why did this happen to my dad? Why did this have to happen in my family? So there's not a standard version of what grief looks like. It looks
mm,
different for different people. And then people process grief in different ways.
mm. Thank you for sharing that. That's so true. There's no cookie cutter version of grief. You talked about how grief looks different for different people. That is so true. Everybody grieves differently. Some people may cry, some people may not cry. You talked about some people being angry. You talked about some people staying busy. So take note to that, to our people that are viewing the audience, virtual audience. Be sure, if you're
Mhm.
tuning in, be sure to like this video and share this video. When someone has died, especially if it's a parent or a close loved one, everyone in the family is going to deal with it differently,
Exactly.
and it's important that we don't judge that person. She act like had nothing happened. He act like ain't nothing happened. He just going on with his life. Well, that's how that person may be dealing with grief. People deal with it in different ways, and we have to respect how people deal with grief, because like you said, we process different. That's so true. We process grief so differently. Some I looked up some myths about, there are some myths about grief. So I'm just gonna just share some and just kind of give me some feedback on it. There are three myths that I found. It says
Okay.
time heals all things. How do you feel about that? Time
Oh,
heals all things.
time doesn't heal anything.
Mm,
The work heals all things. And when I
mm,
say the work, it's the mental work that you do, the emotional work that you do, the spiritual work that you do. But
mhm,
time doesn't heal anything.
mm,
Because if I'm grieving and I don't do the work,
mm,
I can be in that same spot 5 years from now, and
mhm,
time has gone by, but I'm still feeling the same way.
mm,
So it's not that time heals all things, it's what we do during that time
mm,
that determines if all of those things will be healed. And I think the misconception is we put the time frame on grief. Well, after,
mm,
oh, well, that happened 3 months ago. She should be over that by now. That
mhm.
happened 6 months ago. That happened a year ago. When in essence, time doesn't do anything but keep going. It's what we do in the time that determines whether or not we heal from the loss.
Mm. What we do in the time, that's powerful. What we do in the time determines how long that grief is there. Another myth about grief: avoid the pain and it won't hurt you. Just avoid it. Let's talk about it.
Avoid the pain and it won't hurt. So if I break my leg and I
Mm,
pretend
mm,
that it's not broken, it's gonna stop hurting. No, it's
mm,
not gonna happen. That's not going
mm,
because it's already broken. So
mm,
avoiding it or acting like it's not there is not gonna cause it to leave. Now, what happens a lot of times, people will pack their emotions down, but
mm,
I'm a firm believer that anything that you don't deal with, eventually it deals with you.
mm,
So when you pack that grief and loss and all of that, those emotions down, it starts seeping out in other ways. You
mm,
snap, always got something to say to somebody. You irritated by everything and everybody. Or you, again, just sad, don't know why, can't get up and go. But it's because I just packed it down. Because if I act like it's not there, it'll go away. No, it's
mm,
not going to go away. It's still there. And at some moment, everything that you don't deal with, it deals with you.
mm. Powerful. Everything that we don't deal with, it will eventually deal with us. So if you are in a stage or moment or a period of grief, get some help. Get some help. Admit that you are grieving and that you need some help. Sometimes we can deal with things. Sometimes we can deal with things solo, but most of the time we need some people in our corner to help us. And it doesn't
Exactly.
make you weak to say that I need help. Me, I'm independent. So I've learned over the years, girl, you need some help. Let somebody know you need some help. You feel it some type of way. Let somebody know, hey, I'm grieving. I'm not feeling well today. I need some help. I need
Well,
some prayer. I
I
need
think
some
the myth
intervention.
is what we do a lot of times we suffer in silence
Suffer in silence. That's good.
because we feel like nobody knows how I feel.
Uh-huh.
Well, I can't say I know how you feel if you lost a parent because both of my parents are living,
Right,
but I
right.
can say I know what grief feels like because I have
Mm,
experienced other losses. But a
right,
lot of times we suffer in silence, and like you said, well, I'm a strong person, I can just pull it together. And
right.
then you're dying on the inside, and there are
Mm,
people around you that want to help, people that
mm,
want to provide the support, but we shut them out because
mm,
we think it's a sign of weakness to grieve.
mm,
And so
mm,
my thing is don't die on an island. That's what I'll say. Don't die on an island when you can live
mm,
in a city. That means
mm,
don't die alone emotionally when you can surround yourself with a caring community that will be there for you and support you through the loss.
mm. So good. Great pointers. Don't suffer in silence. Don't live on the island when you can be on the city. Live in the city. How do I? Oh, one more myth I want to share. Crying only makes it worse.
Crying makes it worse. Now, that's probably one of the biggest myths. Crying is a cleanser for a lot of people.
Mm.
It's getting that out. For some
Mm.
people, they may have to scream.
Mm.
You think about it, sometimes you just get, even just not with grief, just emotion alone,
Mm-hmm.
scream.
Mm.
Some people, they have to just, you got to let it out some type of way. So it
Mm.
doesn't make it worse. It
Mm.
makes it better because you're releasing that emotion. You're releasing that pain. And I'm looking at the chat and I see different people on there. Pastor Rita Shinholster, she's a praiser. So
Mm-hmm.
for her, she may have to praise her way through grief.
Mm.
That don't make it worse because you get a deeper praise because you're grieving.
Mm.
Somebody else who is a song, they may have to sing their way through.
Mm. Mm.
Somebody else, they cry their way through, but it doesn't make it worse. It actually makes it better because what you're doing, I'm acknowledging I'm having those feelings.
Mm.
And so when I acknowledge I'm having those feelings, what I do, I allow my mind then to connect with my emotions so I'm not disjointed and disconnected. Because what'll happen, you'll wind up being a schizophrenic
Mm.
person in grief because your emotions are doing one thing, your mind doing something different, but your body doing something different. So let
Mm.
me show you what that looks like. So when I get
Mm-hmm.
around Dr. Yaz, because that's Dr. Yaz, I got to pull it together.
Mm. Mm.
I'm dying in the inside, but I'm around Dr. Yaz, so I'm gonna pull it together. I'm crying in the inside, I'm grieved in the inside, but I gotta put on the show in the front for everybody. So I'm just gonna pull it together. Well, your mind is saying we can't pull it together, but your body is doing something different. So now your spirit and emotions are all out of whack because they don't know what we're doing.
Mm.
Are we okay? Are we not okay? Are we pretending? What are we doing right now?
Mm.
So now you've thrown everything in your life out of balance because you're trying to be in a place that you're not in. If today is a bad day, it's okay to say today's just not a good day
Right.
and be okay with not being okay.
Mm. Be okay with not being okay. You talked about crying is a cleanser. That's so true. So those, if there are tears that are still coming, you need to let those tears come. Don't bottle up that emotion inside. That's so true. How do I grieve and heal? Is there a
You do
set
your,
way to grieve?
no, it's not a set way to grieve. No, it's not a set way to grieve. But how you grieve and heal, you allow the process to be the process.
Mm.
A lot of times we want to go from point A to point Z and we don't want to do anything in between. So we want to go from the loss today and I'm better tomorrow. It don't work like that. We're in process. So because we're in process, you have to allow the process to process you because
Mm.
you get processed in the process.
Mm.
So I go through it, I get through it by going through it, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And
Makes a lot of
I see
sense.
Portia Evans said we grieve in cycles. It comes in waves. Some
Mm.
days you'll be perfectly okay, and you may hear a song that I know for me, when my grandmother, we called her Madia, when she passed, yes, I was upset. Yes, I grieved. And
Mhm.
sometimes it had to be about a month ago. I was listening at a church service and I heard a hymn, and the hymn reminded me of her. And I'm like, what is this water on my face? And I mean, I'm just flushed with
Mhm.
tears.
Mhm.
It's because not because I'm just so overwhelmingly depressed, but it brought back a good memory
Good
in a
memories.
good place. And the tears were just flowing because I thought of her. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So, but I didn't, I'm okay. No, I let those tears flow.
Mhm.
And and then I talked to my sister. I said, "Hey, you remember when Mother used to say, this and that and this and that?" So we're still processing through it, but I'm allowing myself to feel those emotions
Mhm.
because what'll happen, it'll be a time where even just thinking about that person just brings so much hurt and pain. But if you allow yourself to process through the process,
Mm.
it'll come a time where you can laugh about getting a whooping with a switch for eating pie before you ate dinner. See, I can laugh about the switches now, how she'd go make one of the other kids pick out your switch. But you was gonna pick out a switch too, so you better be kind because your time was gonna come too. I can laugh about those moments now. You see what I'm saying? But it used to be a
Mhm.
time just thinking about my mother, I would just be sad. But I allowed myself to be sad in those moments. And
Mm.
then I allowed myself then to celebrate her life because
Mm.
the other part of grief, we understand that her life was more than the day that she died.
Mm. The life is more than the day that they die. That's powerful. And you talked about allow the process to be the process. That's so true.
Exactly. And don't
Allow the
rush it.
process. Don't rush it. Oh, yes, don't rush it. Don't rush it. So true. And as you was talking, reflecting about Medea, was it, is that I said it right?
But yeah, mhm.
My mind went back to my paternal granny. She died back, I think 1996. Yeah, it was 1996, I think, or 97. I remember I was in college when my parents came and told me. And there was a song she would always sing on Sundays. I grew up at Jordan Stream Baptist Church. Her song was "It's Another New Day, Lord, I Ain't Gone." And to this day, I don't think nobody can sing it better than my granny. I come from
Exactly.
a family that sings, but whenever somebody sings that song doing devotion, my mind immediately goes back to her. My mind immediately goes back to her. My mind immediately goes back to just seeing her in that deaconess corner, just rocking and singing.
Yes, yes.
Good memories are good to have. So true. Allow the process to be the process and don't rush it. So we can't rush grief. And I don't know, I was just sitting here while you was talking. I thought about um the process of having a baby. I don't have any children, but I have a niece and two nephews. And I know normally the process is about what, 9 months? That's 40
About
weeks.
40 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a process. And one thing I have learned with watching my sisters carry their children, and I can remember back, I'm the oldest of two sisters, so I can remember my mom carrying both my sisters. It was a process. I can remember being a little girl, and when my mom was pregnant with my sister Kimberly, we were about 5 years apart. So I was probably kindergarten, first grade when she had Kim. And I remember I always asking her, I'm ready for the baby to come. When is the baby gonna come? And she would say, Yasmin, it's not time, baby. I'm ready. I'm ready for my sister. I was just, a little girl, excited, knowing seeing my mom pregnant with that big belly, that I was gonna have somebody to play with. But I couldn't rush the process. And with me
Mm-mm.
nagging her, just being a little girl, it was not going to speed it up or slow it down. So it's a process.
It's-
So
and
if you,
using that analogy, you think about it this way. Whenever we try to rush the natural process of something,
mm,
then something then doesn't develop right. So if you're thinking
mm,
about it, using your analogy with the term of a baby, most premature babies have a lot of medical and health issues. Why?
mm-hmm,
Because the
mm-hmm,
process wasn't long enough for all of their organs to develop, all of the internal systems to do what they needed to do. So
mm-hmm,
what happens? Those babies require a lot more intensive care because
mm-hmm,
they didn't get the amount of time needed for them
mm-hmm,
to fully process. Well, it's the same thing when we try to rush through grief. If we
mm-hmm,
don't allow the process to process us, when we finally get care, now we need more extensive care because we came out too early, if that makes sense. And we're
it
using that
makes a
analogy.
lot of sense.
We tried to rush the process.
Mm,
And now we're in a NICU. You're in an emotional NICU
mm,
because you're not fully developed in some areas. You're not fully
mm,
healed in some areas. Your emotional lungs can't take in enough wind. So now you got to
mm,
go into a neonatal unit emotionally so
mm,
you can heal. But
mm,
had you let the whole process play out,
mm-hmm,
you would be
mm-hmm,
in a stable place because everything would be functioning the way it's supposed to function.
mm, mm. Powerful analogy. Process. If grief is a place where you are at, let it take its course. Let
Exactly.
those tears roll. Let that process be the process and heal. Take time to heal. Take time for you. Don't let anybody rush you and say, hey, it's time to move on with life. Well, no, it's not. Yes, life is steadily moving, but roll with the process. And you will know when you're past that point to where you can say, I've gotten past it. That person will always be in my heart, but I've learned to go on with life without that person. Because a lot of times when someone dies, you have to readjust your life. It depends on the role they played in your life. I think about my maternal grandmother. She lost her husband last year, back in November, yeah, October, November. So she's having to live life a different way now. He was there. Granted, he had
Mhm.
some ailments, but they had been together 30 plus years, a very long time. They loved each other. So now when we go to visit, he's no longer there. And I had to adjust to going because, he always had a joke. He knew how to make you smile. He knew how to make you laugh. So I had to process that when I go see grandmother now. he's not there.
Exactly.
He's not there. There are times grandma may call and say, will you go pick up such and such for me? But she would always say, and for Willie, he wants this. I'm going to give the phone to him and he's going to tell you what he wants you to pick up for him at the grocery store. So now when I call, he's not there to talk. It's just her. So it's a process. And I have watched her, she's doing well. I believe that grief is still there, but just watching her process, learning life different because, as a wife, to her husband, she was caring for him, doing things for him. But now she no longer does things for him because he's gone. So the things she does is for herself. So definitely learning to adapt to life without that person being there. It's a process.
And it's a new normal. We hear
Oh,
that
a
a
new
lot,
normal. Yes.
but you do have to develop a new normal. I'm looking at some of the comments. Portia Evans said you got to develop coping skills. And
Mm.
that's so true because some things will ignite, I use the word ignite, good memories, but other
Uh-huh.
things are triggers to
Mm.
pain. So
Mm.
you have to know those things because if you don't, then you can't develop coping skills or coping mechanisms to help you get through those difficult times.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people, their coping mechanism is to help get through difficult time. Like I said, with Pastor Rita, praise and worship music, just singing,
Mm-hmm.
being in the presence of God. Other people, they may want to surround themselves with family and
Mm-hmm.
friends
Mm-hmm.
just to hear laughter. Then you find what works for you because what works for you may not work for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Some people may start going to the gym or working out and exercise, just
Mm-hmm.
different things,
Mm-hmm.
to get you back in a stable place. I see
Mm-hmm.
Barbara Hillman said some wounds, surgical procedures require different healing times. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what grief, if you want to liken it to that, it's the same thing. If I went to get stitches for a small cut in my hand, that's going to be different if I had a major surgery. Recovery time is different. So
Mm-hmm.
grief, if you look at it in that terms as a surgical procedure, yeah, some things take longer time. Some things you get stitches, some things you have to get sutures because it's a bigger wound. It
Mm-hmm.
requires a lot more aftercare. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end, the hope, whether you got stitches or sutures, is that you heal properly at the end.
Mm. So true. How do I get help? If I feel that I am stuck, I'm grieving, I'm crying, I'm not wanting to get out of the bed, or I'm trying to mask and hide how I'm really feeling, how do I get help? What is the next step? I need help.
Well, the next step, again, it looks different for different people. Some people are comfortable going to, their pastors for spiritual counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Other people contact a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
to get that counseling there in a therapist's office in a clinical setting. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to determine the type of help you need. How do you get help is just making that first step.
Mm.
Deciding, okay, I need something.
Mm.
Because we won't heal what we won't acknowledge.
Woo. Mm.
So if I don't acknowledge I'm in this place, I can't move forward to get to those next steps because I haven't even acknowledged there's a step that needs to be taken.
Mm.
So then after I acknowledge I'm in a place right now and I need more than what I can give myself.
Mm.
Then now I start looking for outside resources, people to reach out to. Like I said, it could be a pastoral counselor. It can be
Mm-hmm.
a therapist, psychologist. It's still just taking that initial step to say, I need more than what I'm giving myself.
Mm. You said we won't, I was trying to write it down. We won't heal what we won't acknowledge. Is
What we won't
that what you said?
acknowledge. Yeah. And
That's
and
powerful.
and let me tell you, and how I came to that, if you've ever gone to an AA meeting,
Mm-hmm.
this blew my mind. They make people stand up and you say, hi, my name is Danielle and I'm an alcoholic. I wonder initially, why do they make people do that? Because it seemed like to me that would be a little embarrassing if I have to get up in front of all these people and
Right.
say, hi, I'm Danielle, I'm an alcoholic. But the more I processed it, the reason why they have people to do that, because you can't heal from it if you can't get up and publicly
Mm.
declare I have this issue. So that's the
Wow.
first step is saying, hi, my name is this, and I'm an alcoholic. So it's acknowledging it, but you'll never heal from it if you can't say it. If I can't
Mm.
say I'm grieving, how can I get help if I can't even acknowledge that I need it?
Mm. So the first step in seeking help with grief is that you have to acknowledge that there's an issue, there's a problem. Like we stated earlier, grief is a natural, it's a natural emotion that we have when loss has happened. But at some point, if you acknowledge that I am grieving and I think I need some help, get some help. Like she stated, some people seek help from their pastor. Some people seek help. You may be in counseling as we speak. If you're unsure of where to go, one of the first steps to be is just to reach out to your medical doctor and they can do a referral. Or if there's someone you know that works in the counseling profession, seek them and they may can counsel you, set up some appointments, or they may can refer you to get some help. So know that help is out there. Know that you are not alone. You're not alone at
Exactly.
all. If there's grief that you are experiencing, it's natural. It's a natural emotion. Grief won't last always, and you may grieve for a long time. When I was just kind of researching, it said, oh, a question that says, will grief last forever? And some things are forever. And what I found, it says it can last for months or it can last for years. It just depends. And we talked about, learning to adapt to life without a loved one, living life after the death of that relative, of a close friend, of a coworker, of a spouse. And I'm reminded, we're about to finalize things. This was probably about 10, maybe 10, 15 years ago. I've been in the education system for about 22 years. Probably the last 10 or 12 years, I worked in a high school setting. So when I first started working at the high school, I worked under the leadership of the late Dr. Harold Johnson. And while he was in that role as principal, he died. And it really had an impact on me because when that happened, I had been out of work for a week. I was sick. Just battling some things. And I can remember going back to work. I didn't realize the effect it would have on me because I was like, he hired me with my new position at the high school in the counseling department. Also, he was very instrumental in my life with encouraging me to go back to work on my doctorate degree. So I just honor him on tonight. But I just can't remember. It really took me a while to get past that because I thought about the impact he had on me, the impact he had on staff, and just the impact he had on the student body. Granted, 10, 12 years later, I'm past that, but it took a while. It really took a
Exactly.
while, but I was able to get through it. But like you said, I had to acknowledge it, and it was a process. But once I got through the process, I was like, am I going to ever get out of this place of just sadness? But I was able to get out of it. So just like I was able to get out of it, Dr. Jones has experienced death. She was able to get out of it. If you're in that place of uncertainty, that place of grief, you will get past that, but let that process be the process. Acknowledge how you're feeling and just know you are not alone. There's a community, there are loved ones, there are clergy, there are people that are willing to help you. So seek help if you need it. Thank you so much, Dr. Danielle Jones, for just joining in on tonight for the premiere of Tuesday Talk with Dr. Yes. I hope that everyone gained something from it. I know that I did. Every time I see you on a virtual platform, your book, I love to hear you speak. I love to hear the impartation that you have for the body, for the world, of your knowledge in the area of counseling.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here with you. Feels like, days of old at Georgia Southwestern. So
Ooh,
it is,
girl, yes.
that was some good times. I tell people,
Good
I
time.
see Shakira Brown Rice. Hey, fellow Hurricane. I was gonna say Wildcat from grad school, but I'm telling you,
Right.
we had some great times at Georgia Southwestern.
We
I
had
mean,
some
just
great times.
and this is just, to me, a testament of that we form bonds and friendships with people that we can look back on now over 20 years later and say, that's still my friend, that's still my sister. If I need her, I can
Yes.
call her. And so when I
Yes.
tell you this is just wonderful, Shakira said, hey, yes, we did. We sure did. We formed some lasting friendships that have, spanned the, time. And a lot of people can't say that. Portia Evans, great times at GSW. So we thank all of you guys for
Yes.
supporting both of us. But,
Yes.
that speaks to who you are as a person when you can look back 20 years later and you're still connected with those people and you still have that bond that you can get on the phone and say, hey, I'm doing this. And when you asked, I
Yes.
was like, of course I will, so I've enjoyed, this time. nothing but peace and blessings to you. Yes, I know
Thank
this
you.
is going to be great and it is going to
Thank
be
you.
so wonderful and it's so needed during this time. Hey, Trina Gorman Wright, love you to life, sister. So thank you guys, everyone that tuned in. But if you feel like Crystal, hey Crystal, if you're going through grief or you feel like you might be experiencing grief, reach out to someone. Reach
Please.
out to someone. Pastor Rita Shinholster, and I'm just looking at all the comments and all the
Hmm.
people that have supported, during this taping and this live stream. But reach out, inbox Dr. Yaz, inbox me and say, hey, we can connect you with people
That's true.
that are
Yes.
willing to help you get from, and I get this from Bishop Reuben Holman, a good friend of mine. And I thought about it tonight as we're ending talking about grief. There are
Hmm.
people in place that can help you get from your now to your next. And
Oh,
that's what we want to do. We want to help you get from your now to your next. Thank you so much, Dr. Yes, for having me tonight.
thank you. Thank you. And one more memory. You remember those days singing in the GSW gospel choir?
Yes, that was wonderful. I tell you, we got to just talk offline and just reminisce on those
I
good
know.
times that we had.
Yeah. So yes, like she gave some shout outs to some great friends, my line sister, Shakira Brown Rice. Thank you all for tuning in to my family friends of Dr. Jones, co-workers. Thank you so much for supporting this on tonight. And we'll be back. Oh, and we will be airing every last Tuesday of each month. So my next topic is going to be single dads. So watch out. We're going to be talking with single dads next month. So until then, peace and blessings upon you. Have a great evening.